Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, Paul.
Do you know?
Well, tell me. What? I think I do, but why don't you tell me what it is?
That this is Measure of an Episode, you should know. Where our continuing mission
Well, then I should know this.
is to explore where we explore what makes a Star Trek episode a proper Star Trek episode, and not just kind of a Chucky ripoff. It's not exactly Chucky at all. It's not even close to Chucky, but it felt like Chucky.
A little bit. It was also, I kind of felt like it was an afternoon special, like an after-school special. There we go. After-school special of like the dangers of imaginary friends type thing.
We were getting a lot of mixed episodes. A lot of, well, that's the whole premise of our show. We're getting a lot of mixed messages from the episode, which is it okay to have invisible friends? First of all, if Guinan says it's okay, it's okay.
Well, but her caveat has to be, it's got to be some kind of huge vicious animal.
Beast?
Yeah. The razor beast.
Anyway, here's what the episode is about. A child who recently moved onto the Enterprise begins playing with an imaginary friend, but the new playmate begins affecting the ship's operations. No. Sorta. Almost got it.
Right? I mean, it starts
not exactly
interfering in like the loosest sense of the word.
I mean, I guess a little bit at the end. Does the alien take over the ship of any kind?
No.
It's just the other beings, her friends, take over. They start bombarding the ship with energy or something like that.
Well, yeah, they start sucking the energy out, and then Picard is like, "Here, fetch."
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the most she did was, well, I guess she attacked Troy, but that's not ship's operations, and she knocks over a ship cup or Troy's cup, which is also not operations. Does she do anything that's operations?
I think that no, not really.
She's just super eager to go to engineering.
Yeah, I think that they're just curious. It's unclear. Okay, so let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
So it starts out where we have Troy sort of having some sort of session with this little girl who has an imaginary friend who she talks to through, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that, okay, this is a Star Trek episode. This has been going on for a long time. And the imaginary friend, we're going to find out at the end of the scene that it's actually real.
Right.
And that's going to be that the invisible friend has always been real.
Yes.
And it wasn't.
No.
That did not happen.
Well, at the end of the scene, she was real, but that was the first time she was real.
Well, I was going to say, so the cold open felt very formulaic, and not necessarily in a bad way, but just this is how they normally start. In the olden days when we used to use that as a criteria, does it have two plots? Yes, usually the B plot starts first, so they can end with a good cliffhanging A plot cliffhanger. Allow myself to introduce myself. And so, but that's kind of not what happened. I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't watch the episode.
Were there two plots in there? Because I don't remember there being a B plot in this episode.
They converge at a certain point. So it's the B plot, or at least how I understood it. The B plot was the invisible friend. And the A plot was this nebula that was very mysterious and beautiful and interesting.
Oh, that's right. See, I would say it's the other way around, but yeah. Okay, that's right.
Usually the science fiction element is the A plot, and that's sort of what I defaulted to. But
okay.
I don't know. It sort of converges at a certain point because we know that it is the same thing.
Well, and I guess it was kind of interesting because, going off of what I just said, because remember the idea was the conflict at the end of the cold open was what the plot was going to be. Like that was the main plot. And so the fact that the imaginary friend showed up at the end of the cold open indicated that was the conflict. But what's interesting about that is that means the entire episode had to follow around this girl. Not Isabella. Isabella was the imaginary friend. What was the girl's name?
Clara.
Oh, that's right. The episode takes place around her, and the only time any other characters are showing up is when they're involved with her. So I thought that was interesting to like have a Star Trek episode written and based around a character that's not a main character on the ship.
The invisible friend Isabella, who is later embodied by the alien.
Mm-hmm.
They make it very obvious that they want this to be a threatening presence. She doesn't smile, and she's very curt and bossy,
yes,
if you will.
Yes.
And I like that it wasn't just an evil imaginary friend, that it works out that, hey, this is a brand new, an alien is inhabiting something it has no idea how to inhabit, doesn't know what a smile is, doesn't know what pancakes are,
Right.
And knows what jealousy is, though, I guess, to an extent. But I liked that. That's sort of the science fiction aspect of this plot, is that, yes, it's sort of dealing in this horror-esque kind of kid, has to deal with, I don't know, it read very horror-esque to me, which is kind of a trend lately for some reason.
I know. Like, we just passed Christmas and here we are watching horror episodes.
But I think that's just sort of on the forefront. Mm-hmm. What was really happening was that they were actually exploring, okay, this alien is inhabiting, just cursorily, it did this mini exploration of the ship, came across a way to communicate with somebody and took it, not knowing that was probably not a great way to introduce yourself to another species and to ask it what you want. And that to me embodied what was supposed to be like the science fiction in a way. That was the novel. Oh, we don't even know what the criteria are.
Oh, no.
We didn't say the criteria.
Dear listeners, if you don't know that this is the measure of an episode,
they don't know.
And you don't know where our continuing mission to explore what makes Star Trek proper Star Trek, then here's the 3 criteria to fill you in on what we base it on.
Just copy and paste it from a previous episode. If you want to know, go listen to the previous episode.
That's
come back here.
Right.
Put it on pause.
Should I say it or no? Are we skipping it?
No, don't say it. No, we're skipping it.
Okay. All right.
Screw you, listeners. You new listeners.
We don't want you. We don't want you to share this with your friends.
No. I want you to go to your friends who you might have actually recommended this podcast to and give them the finger. Don't say anything. Just give them the finger for us.
And the friend who did recommend this to you, just go slap him in the face. Don't tell him why.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to be bathed in confusion for this.
Because clearly they're not listening to this show anymore. And for those of you who are listening, you better run. You better run from the friend that you recommended it to.
This better have 0 listens. 0. When I look, if there's more than 0, I'm going to be really mad.
Right? That's going to be really tricky. Like, they have to get to this point. They're not going to know what to do. Like, they can't unlisten.
No. It's going to be a heist. How do we roll back? It's going to be like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. They have to roll back the odometer, but they can't. So they get married. You know when you try and get yourself fired? That's what that feels like.
In fact, I'm pouring coffee on my microphone right now.
Sounds delicious. Anyway.
Is there sci-fi? Is it novel? And is there a moral ethical dilemma? You can choose to leave that in or not.
And so this is the novel aspect. Is, yes, it did feel like a horror show, but in reality, it was just an alien trying to get its bearings on inhabiting, not even inhabiting a human, impersonating a human. And it wasn't even clear if it was flesh and blood. I think it was just an illusion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it was just an illusion.
Yeah.
Because it was able to just materialize in Troy's room.
Right.
So I think what I would have really liked is to have established a little bit more that Clara and Isabella were playing together, and then Clara had to go do something because, like, the grown-up said, and she said, but we're playing. You know, it seemed a little bit more like she wanted Clara to stay with her all the time rather than she liked spending time with Clara. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, it was rushed.
Yeah.
I felt like the way to do this type of story is we come into the episode and Isabella is already the alien and has been for a very long time. Not a long time, like 2 weeks. And they've been playing together, and maybe the dad is somewhat concerned at this point, but it doesn't suspect anything is wrong. I think they played up this whole I'm worried about my daughter because of her imaginary friend storyline too much, because it doesn't ultimately go anywhere except for a scene with Guinan where Guinan says it's okay to have an imaginary friend. You're a crappy counselor.
To be fair, the counselor said it was okay to have an imaginary friend too.
I didn't see the sequel. I don't know. Longest movie title ever, by the way.
It's okay to have an imaginary. No, it's not.
Well, now it is that you added.
No, that's the end of the trilogy.
No, it's not. Where were we? Oh, so Dick Geordie makes an appearance in this episode.
Oh, Dick Data totally superseded him.
That's true. But strangely enough, not Dick Worf. Worf was like nice Worf.
Worf was
nice Worf. He's so nice.
Nice Worf. Nice. Or it's a command. Nice Worf. Nice.
Gives him a little treat.
Perhaps it is a good day to nice Worf. Show me nice Worf.
I have reconsidered. So I want to point something out.
Okay.
So they have this command conference where they're talking about this nebula.
Yes.
And Geordi says, "Hey, I would really like to stay and figure this out. We don't know what it is. Do we have time, Captain Picard, sir?" And right here is the biggest difference between Picard and Janeway. Picard is darn right enthusiastic to oblige, right? He says, absolutely, I want to learn more about this strange anomaly, I guess, nebulous anomaly, whatever it was. Let's do it. Let's spend as much time as you want. Do your thing. I'm going to go read a book that has no cover. And if it were Janeway, she would be totally put out. And if it wasn't her idea to stick around and study the nebula, she probably wouldn't do it. Or she would do it begrudgingly.
Well, yeah, depending on which way we have, if it's the stay way, the home way, or the Janeway, like she's going to say, like she would say, we have to find out what this is. This is our only opportunity, or we have to get home. We don't have enough time to stay.
Right. Just depending on what her mood was.
Right. Depending on how much coffee she's had.
Yeah. And I don't know. That just struck me as this is why Picard is a better captain. This is why, right? He actually has this curiosity about the universe. He actually is trying to. I guess in Janeway's defense, he's not 80,000 light years away from home, but his mood is nice. It's nice to have a nice, enthusiastic mood every once in a while from your captain.
Well, and he always explains his position. And, Janeway explains her position too, but it's different each time. Like she either, no, we can't stay because we have to get home, or sure, let's stay and let's explore what it is because we've never seen this before.
Yeah. It's great. That's why the show is the best show on the planet. And Voyager is almost. It's second. It's almost there.
Well, it's definitely in the top 8 of Star Trek episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Star Trek series.
Definitely the top 8. Top 10 and even. So they missed a good opportunity with this whole, if we're going to buy into this whole, why does my child have a imaginary friend? What's going on? I'm worried about it. And they never explicitly say, but it seems like the mom is not in the picture, or I don't know. Maybe they say at some point, but that is implicit. But so in that first scene, Troy talks to Ensign Kim, and Ensign Kim says, or Troy says to Ensign Kim, probably the reason that she has an imaginary friend is because it's very difficult.
Hang on, I'm sorry, I've got to cut you off. Do you just add Kim at the end because every ensign is Ensign Kim?
That's not what it is.
I'm pretty sure.
I thought Ensign Kim. I thought Ensign Kim is the rank. Is that not true?
Let's see. Who is it? It's Ensign.
We don't have time for this, Jonathan. It's Ensign Kim. I'm fairly certain. Okay.
Oh yeah, Alexander was in this. I totally forgot.
And it's funny now that we've talked about that he was sort of a terrible person to work with on the set. That's all I see.
Right.
It's like I wonder when he's just going to start throwing things. It's like someone won't bring in his juice box.
Ensign Sutter, that was his name.
Okay, Ensign Kim Sutter. So Troy talks to Ensign Sin Cutter, and she says to him, maybe the reason is that you are moving around so much that she is unable to have a balanced and stable relationship with any friend. So she invents a new one to cover that. And they kind of robbed Clary's autonomy for when Clara explains the exact same thing to Isabella. And I felt like they robbed her of that. And you didn't need to say it twice. Why not why not make it a little bit of a mystery to the adults and have Clara tell us why?
Right.
And I felt like that would have, first of all, made it shorter, because I did not buy into this whole plot line of kids have imaginary friends. It's very interesting to talk about. Let's talk about it some more. I felt like I was waiting for the interesting things to start happening.
Well, and I feel like it was a little bit too insightful from a little girl. Like I feel like her reason should have been different. Well,
yeah. I mean, she could have said something along the lines in a little child, that's what they're called, in a childlike way of, oh, well, whenever we leave, I can take you with me.
Right.
And that's the way it worked, you know, and I don't have to leave my friends behind. And that would have been enough.
Yeah. But they didn't do that.
They did not do that. I felt like that would have been a nice character moment for Clara if we're going to spend time with this kid throughout the whole show.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, it would have been cool for her to say, you know, it's really nice that I can actually see you now, because now when we leave Enterprise, you can come with me and I can introduce you to those people there, or something like that.
Right. Yeah. It would have been very easy, and it would have made the cold open a little shorter, which it needed to be.
It's just it's interesting. Like, I think because of the story and the conflict with this episode, I feel like it should have actually had more time to breathe with Clara and Isabella, rather than adding more with the Nebula stuff, because it would have provided more character moments, so the conflict would have been much more apparent, and it would have been fun to. I feel like if it was written that way, where it was actually from the perspective of Clara, it actually could have been a lot more interesting to see how the child perceives the world. You know, being told that she can't do these things, and from an adult perspective, you would totally understand where the adults are coming from, but from the aliens' perspective, it would seem like just adults were overbearing and controlling.
Right. Which is exactly what Picard says. Mm-hmm. And he kind of reasons that out at the end. And that would have rang true a little bit more, because it's unclear if this is an intelligent species or if they're sort of developing. Are these sort of the Cro-Magnon versions of life forms, and they don't really know how to interpret or absorb any of this information as they're walking around? Because it's obvious, I guess it's obvious to us because we're not a spacefaring life form. We actually are human, but it's obvious to us that I'm inhabiting the body, or I'm impersonating the body of a small, less important being, and maybe that was a mistake if I want to start, you know, stealing things from these people. I don't know. It just seemed like it was unclear where this particular being was in terms of intelligence and development.
Well, yeah, and she said something about how, like, she was coming to investigate the species, and then she saw that they were just cruel and they didn't deserve to live, you know. And at this point, Picard is like, "Oh no! See, I understand where you're coming from about how you think it. You know, we're violent and overbearing, or controlling and overbearing." And it's like, well, no. At that point, you're just pleading for your life. Like, I'm not going to believe you now.
By the way, you're grounded for 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, I wish they would have stayed. They should have leaned into the imaginary friend thing, or made it more peripheral, where the Isabella starts really messing with the ship and interfacing with the computer and everything, and it felt like it was trying to split the difference, and it just didn't work.
Right,
it felt like it was too watered down on both ends.
Yeah.
So then Geordi gives Ensign Kim some advice about children. This single guy who humps computer programs.
Well, yeah, like, he can give him dating advice. I know where you can find all the women.
And they can be whoever you want. See that lady over there could be her. That lady over there could be her. I have a program for that one already.
And when things get awkward, you just say, "End program, baby."
Yeah. How'd you know my name was Baby?
That's his name, Baby Sutter?
Joke. Yeah. Baby Sutter. It's a great name.
Ensign Kim, Baby Sutter.
I can see why you want to transfer. I would beat you up too.
It's like, he just keeps his first name a secret, and every time it gets discovered, he's like, "I wish to transfer." Well, we could put you on USS Corner. Nobody puts Baby in the corner.
Oh, I didn't even know you were going with that. Grand slam. Okay, and then we have the Guinan scene.
Yes.
And this is sort of what happens when there's a Guinan-centric scene, where she's always trying to illustrate something to whoever is coming to talk to her. First of all, she's always able to intuit when something is wrong with a person.
Yes.
And then her plan is to come up to that person, give some sort of anecdotal story that we don't know is necessarily germane to their problem,
right,
but ends up being germane.
Yes.
And that's usually how Guinan works, but it's always amazing. It's so formulaic, but it's always amazing. Like, that's how awesome Guinan is.
Well, yeah, just Whoopi Goldberg is, I mean, she's a Star Trek fan, so she was super excited to be on the show. And the writers always wrote her in whenever she was available, which is actually what happened here. That scene was supposed to be with Data and Troy. And Whoopi Goldberg became available, and so they rewrote it so it could be Guinan and Data, who was being Dick Data again. You know, he's like, it's just clouds, and you're wrong. It's obviously a bunny rabbit.
I liked it though.
I
appreciate it. Yeah,
it's just amazing how like Data, who has no sense of humor, he can read the room enough to, you know, like earlier with Geordi, you know, he's like, given the two options between the LaForge Nebula and PVC-14 or whatever, I choose PVC-14.
Yeah, that was great. They gave Data a lot of humor in this. That wasn't Data isn't human and isn't that funny kind of thing. Like they actually gave him jokes.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like that's the thing about Guinan and Whoopi Goldberg is that her character and Guinan and Whoopi Goldberg could not be more opposite people. Whoopi Goldberg is this irreverent comic with a potty mouth, and Guinan is this sort of understated, wise woman.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm not saying that Whoopi Goldberg is not wise, but that's not what she wears on her, you know, that's not how she presents.
Well, right.
She kind of presents
yeah, I mean,
this,
just compare Guinan to Whoopi Goldberg on The View. Like, I feel like Whoopi Goldberg on The View is a much more, it's more representative of who Whoopi Goldberg is. And so, she just presents Guinan in a way of like, kind of like what you said, like she's just in tune and she knows exactly what to say to guide somebody in the right direction. And she just has this bemused look on her face, you know, like, oh, child.
Right. And it's, you know, it's this idea that I've done this 100 times before you.
Right.
And she plays it so well. I think it must be this wonderful synergy between writing and acting. Whoopi Goldberg knows exactly what they wanted, and they knew exactly how to write for her in that way. And it works every time.
Well, and
you buy it.
Right.
Everything that she says, you buy.
Right. And I wonder if she, you know, I mean, this is the 5th season. And I don't know when she first came on, but I wonder if she now knew the character enough that, you know, like they gave her the script and she's, you know, she tweaked it, or if they just knew her so well that when she came in and she saw it, you know, she's like, okay, yeah, no, I get what I'm supposed to be saying.
Maybe. They seem very specific, though, especially with the anecdotes. I can't imagine her trying to put her spin on having tennis elbow. It seems like it's very specific.
Right.
And and I would think that any improv that Whoopi Goldberg would do would just be inappropriate for Star Trek.
As outtakes
There'd be
shown.
too many F-bombs.
Yeah.
Yes. And intakes.
Yes.
Intakes is my new favorite thing on YouTube. Everybody Google Star Trek intake.
There's actually been a few episodes that we have we've analyzed, and now I'm trying to find ones for the episodes we are doing, so I can link them up on Facebook or our Twitter page. So if you are following us on Twitter, or if you've liked our Facebook page, then you should be seeing those.
And by the way, everybody, as long as we're talking directly to the audience, our 50th, I know you might think we already had a 50th episode, but that we didn't. The 50th episode of The Measure of an Episode, and we would like to poll our audience. We're thinking about doing an episode from some of the newer Star Trek episode or shows.
But
we don't know
3.
what they're called, so yeah. Please send them in if you know what they're called, and we'll try and watch them. No, Discovery, Picard, or Lower Decks. If you have a favorite one or one that you think that we should watch and talk about, please let us know. We have an email. It's all in the show notes. You can hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Let us know.
I feel like those 3 titles together kind of sounds like something that shouldn't have happened. It's like the Lower Decks Picard Discovery.
It sounds like he has some sort of, you know.
Well, did he discover it, or did somebody discover something about Picard?
Oh, I think somebody discovered something about Picard that Picard didn't want anybody to know about.
Did he steal Chakotay's Romulan ale?
I don't think it's sex stuff.
No.
Or I don't like it's definitely some sort of vice, but it's got to be some sort of Star Trek vice kind of thing.
They found all of his Dixon Hill costumes.
Yeah, but he likes to dress in his Dixon Hill costume and stick his dick in the warp core or something like that. I don't know, like something like that.
Nothing sexual, but
okay. So anyway, I got very tired of the Isabella did it thing that happened, I guess, one or two too many times in the episode. It was too much. That's why I think that they were trying to ride this line between the A plot and B plot, that they didn't want to go any further with Isabella, and so they just tried to just kind of like jump rope on this line of like, well, let's have her just doing stuff and nobody believes her. I hate those scenes when they happen over and over and over again.
Oh man, no, I agree, and they happen back to back to back. Sorry, my oh man, I was just thinking like, it would have been really cool. I think they've done this on a couple shows, a couple episodes. I'm not positive, but where she's got her imaginary friend and they're exploring the nebula, and they do something to the nebula to explore it, and it hurts Isabella. And so that's why she starts investigating the ship. She starts taking Clara to places she's not supposed to go because she's trying to figure out what the ship is doing to her.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. I mean, that would have been much better, giving her a little bit more, I guess, reason to be there. I guess we learn what her reason to be there is, but it doesn't feel genuine or authentic because it's just something she says at the end of the scene with Picard when there's the confrontation.
Right. Yeah, like she's just there to explore until she's not.
Yeah, it was half-baked in terms of her intentions and her motivations.
Yeah, which is so weird because this is another episode where they spent so much time with the script. And so I just wonder if they do go in these directions and they start thinking it's too layered and too deep for what the story is, or if they just get too focused on they miss the forest for the trees, or they see the trees for the forest, or whatever that phrase is in this respect.
I do know that they were openly accepting submissions from the general public for scripts. I know that there was one guy who was just a guy who wrote a script and it's one of the episodes on Next Gen. I don't know which one it is. Was it me? No, it wasn't.
Well, this episode actually had freelance rewrites, and then eventually Rick Berman took it and kind of finalized it. So it's just interesting to have so many people. I mean, maybe there were too many cooks in the kitchen, and they were, it was getting like kind of what you said, like it was getting too watered down, and they couldn't decide which direction they wanted to take it because, again, everybody was doing it as the imaginary friend was very innocent, and it was just an alien who was there to explore and just learn about the Enterprise, and it wasn't very interesting because there wasn't a conflict. And so Rick Berman took it and gave her the more malicious intent, but we didn't see what that malicious intent was beyond trying to get Clara in trouble, getting mad at Clara when she left her, and then getting mad at the grown-ups and wanting to eat them.
Well, that makes sense from the energy standpoint, that they're just looking for energy, good sources of energy. Or were they just sort of playing on the horror idea?
Well, no, I mean, she was saying that, like, we're going to feed off of your ship and there's nothing you can do about it. And it was very clear since they were, absorbing the shield energy. But it just seems, it was just out of left field. Like, she wasn't trying to get to engineering. She wasn't trying to get to the warp core to see how it tasted or to see how much there was or anything like that. She just was very curious about engineering in, like, that first scene. And then never again. Right.
I mean, she does want to go back there a couple of times, which they never do. Mm-hmm. And it's never clear why. Right. It's just, you get the sense that, is she trying to sort of infiltrate their security or steal the ship or something? It's never clear.
Right.
And you can tell that there are stakes, but we have no motivation. And so it's a little watered down.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion.
No, I agree.
But I did like the moment where there's the confrontation where Picard comes in the room. And this is after, I guess, Isabella shoots Troy with something. Mm-hmm. And Picard comes in and he says, show yourself. Or can you only communicate by threatening little girls? Like, I thought it was a really good sort of like, he's got me there. Damn it. Now I gotta show up.
But again, like she never threatened the little girl.
She threatened her in the sense of, no, didn't she though? I thought she threatened her that she's going to get in trouble or something like that. Is that?
Maybe. I mean, she made Clara scared, but she made Clara scared because she said like, or maybe she did say, I'm going to hurt you or something like that. But I feel like she threatened the ship more than she threatened Clara.
Yeah, it's funny because I can't remember what the threat was, right. But I know that Clara felt threatened for some reason. Right. I remember that specifically happening. So I don't remember why. Maybe it was just her demeanor.
Yeah.
Isabella's demeanor, which is very threatening.
Yeah.
Which actually the little kid did a good job.
She did. Yeah.
I felt like
but I felt like she played wooden and serious a little too long. Like it would have been nice to see her as a friend to Clara, and then lose that friend.
start out really nice and playful and a little girlish, and then eventually either at certain points lose it entirely where you can tell that it's a facade, or just switch back and forth. It would be interesting to give it more, and just more depth. I think our biggest complaint here is that there wasn't a lot of depth to this relationship and to this alien.
Yeah.
It was just sort of there.
Yeah.
And they have this, they always give these kind of speeches to Picard, and where he kind of reasons with the alien and all's well, and then the episode ends, but right before, Picard says, turn the warp core on at full power and aim it at the nebula. And I know what I'm supposed to think. I'm supposed to think he's giving the aliens power.
Yes.
But in reality, he's just blowing up the nebula.
Right.
He's killing whoever these people are.
And burn the village as we leave. Yeah.
Because it's such a last minute thing. By the way, Data, turn the warp core at full power and aim it at the nebula and fire.
Right.
Like, they've pissed me off the last time.
But I actually did like just that little offhanded remark. He's like, oh yeah, I did say I would give them some food. He said something like, there's a better way for us to provide it to you, or something like that. And so, here he is like, oh yeah, before we go, let's throw him a couple breadcrumbs.
I feel like if this was a full on next gen, top 10 next gen episode, there would have been 6 months of lead up on how to feed these life forms properly and efficiently. Not just a tag at the end of the episode of, hey, let's aim the warp core at them and see what happens.
Right.
It seems like that would be the more science fiction-y thing to do is, these people need food. How can we get it to them? We don't even know what they are.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Well, and that would have been kind of fun too, because like the imaginary friend would have been there exploring the ship, getting the little girl in trouble, having those issues, and then Picard would actually see her, and I mean, the scene could either be off camera or just have a quick one, like not a montage, but just like a quick scene where they're trying to figure out which energy actually tastes good to the aliens. And
right.
And he's basically discussing things with the imaginary friend. And I taking it like to the next step, it's a little bit too layered. No, I was going to say, like, we can't even see the imaginary friend, so everything's going through the little girl. And so he's trying to communicate to this alien who can only be seen by this little girl. But I feel like that's adding one extra layer that would just make it either frustrating to watch or boring. I
think it would have required a lot more time. I mean, I think if you were going to do that, you'd have to have the episode start with them trying to figure out how to feed these life forms. So there is no discovery of the life forms. It's just, we know that these things need food. Let's figure out how to do it. And the invisible friend, Isabella, shows up as a reaction to what they're doing in a negative way. We have no way of communicating, but what I'm trying to figure out, because we're sort of underdeveloped beings in terms of communication with humanoids, this is the only way I know how to do that. And I'm just a little girl, and it's sort of an extension of this other little girl, but this is the only way I know how to communicate with you people,
right.
But I don't know how to tell you that what you're doing is wrong, and the whole episode is that. But then that's a whole other episode.
Right.
That's not about imaginary friends.
Right. But again, I'm thinking like from still from the child's perspective. So we're maybe her dad is a transfer higher ranking officer and not an ensign, so he's allowed into the conference room. Or he's having communications and she's kind of hearing it in the other room, and so she's playing with the imaginary friend, but she's also hearing what's going on, in that kind of roundabout way. So our focus is still on the girl, but we're still getting information in a natural way rather than, the dad being like, honey, I've got this problem and I just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. No, you're right. Actually, I would have preferred it to be your idea, which is there is no physical manifestation of Isabella. It's all through the little girl. And through some clever writing and fun directing and whatever, that she's able to prove that she really exists somehow.
Yeah.
That could have been really fun.
Yeah.
But probably not as watchable. I feel like that's way too science
intellectual,
fiction-y.
Right?
Yeah.
So where do you fall? Like, do you feel like this is proper Star Trek?
I think it's proper.
Yeah.
I think it's a genuine. I think the science fiction is there. It's a novel representation of the science fiction, and there's sort of the morality. Not that I really care about it, but the morality of should we let this little girl have a imaginary friend or not? It's there. I don't know if I liked the episode that much.
Right.
I don't know. Where do you come down?
Well, I'm actually not worried about the morality side of it but more Picard explaining the ethics of child rearing. You know, like we do have to be warm but strict because children without those guidelines can harm themselves or harm others.
And they might take over.
That's right. We can't let that happen. So that's where I don't think it's a moral issue. I think it's more of an ethical one where he's trying to explain our culture. And the benefits to it.
And it was interesting to see, like, why do you the idea that children think they're being treated terribly, and in reality, it's for their own good,
right?
In a way,
Yeah.
That's, by the way, that's sort of the torture that it is to be a dog or a cat, where you take them to the vet and they get poked and prodded and whatever, and they have no idea why. They just think you're torturing them.
Right.
They don't know, and they will never grow to learn that either. They will always think that you're just torturing them.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Well,
end of story.
No, I think some animals can piece together. Like, I was in pain, you took me here. There was something that was even worse, but now my pain is gone. So if that means I have to have a temporary larger pain for the longer pain to go away, I can handle it.
It'd be so great to know.
Right.
I would love to know.
But yeah, I mean,
anyway. Yeah.
So yes, it is proper Star Trek. Kind of the same way. Like, I don't know if I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was bad, and I'd be happy to watch it again. But I don't know that I would overly recommend it.
There are much better Next Gen episodes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Another one in the bag.
Yeah,
as it were.
Proper and well.
I'm gonna know. I'm a no on the like.
You're a no.
I'm gonna go hard. If we have to choose, if it's binary, it's a no.
Right. Yeah. And if it's binary,
it has to be binary for our spreadsheet.
I know. I mean, we could make 0, 1, 2 bad, meh, and good, but you're not going to do that.
That messes up our whole statistics spreadsheet.
I'll say yes.
And that's all that matters.
That way the yes and the no kind of makes it a meh.
The average.
Yep.
You just canceled me out. All right, let's see what we're watching next.
All right, sounds good. Riddles. Episode 6 of Season 6 of Voyager. And the blurb says, returning from an away mission, the Delta Flyer is boarded, and Tuvok is assaulted by a cloaked alien from a xenophobic race called the Ba-Neth.
Delicious.
Yeah. Love Ba-Neth. Looking forward to it. Every time.
Yeah.
Oh.
It sounds good. It sounds good, but
it's Voyager.
I don't know. It seems like it's Voyager. You never know.
Yep.
It's a wild card.
Well, I'm excited to hear what super smart Janeway does to solve it.
Let's go find out.
I keep fearing the DS9 episode, the board game. Is it DS9 or is it Voyager?
Is that the one with
Michael
what's his
McKean
name from Clue? Yeah. I actually rather like that one because not for the storyline necessarily, but I really like Michael McKean.
Right.
I feel like for some reason, it gives me a warm and fuzzy whenever he's on screen.
Yeah, he's just always fun to watch. I agree.
He's always fun to watch, but I agree with you. It's not a great episode.
Let's do it.
Okay.
No, you already said let's go watch it. Don't say anything else.